If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. Looting is cool. Healthy at any weight? If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie.
The Democratic establishment is hitting a wall, and Bill Maher claims to have diagnosed the exact cause of the friction. During a blistering segment on Real Time, the unapologetic satirist went scorched earth, deconstructing precisely why the party is hemorrhaging support across the heartland. With critical elections on the horizon and the 2028 race already casting a shadow, Maher's warning was deafening. The DNC is sprinting toward a catastrophe if it refuses to incinerate its current playbook. He argues that tethering the party's future to exhausted strategies and recycled talking points is essentially a political suicide mission. So, as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button, buckle up, and let's dive straight into the breakdown.
Now, I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense. And it's obvious that it does.
Maher doesn't pull any punches as he tears into what he describes as a fundamentally broken Democratic game plan. To him, the rot isn't just in the messaging. It's in the promotion of concepts that feel completely untethered from basic science and everyday logic. He contends that when party leaders elevate ideologies that the average voter sees as radical or ungrounded, they effectively surrender the vital middle ground required for victory. Even more jarring, he notes, is seeing scientific titans like Neil deGrasse Tyson, once the gold standard of objective literacy, get dragged into cultural skirmishes that muddy the waters between empirical facts and political dogma. For the typical voter, this chaos destroys the credibility of expertise. Maher's ultimate point is undeniable. If a party prioritizes niche cultural crusades over the bread and butter issues affecting families' wallets, they shouldn't act surprised when their electoral engine stalls out.
And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct and sex is assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it. Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America, not doing it.
Maher pushes the envelope further by identifying the specific philosophies he believes are poisoning the Democrats' broader appeal. He notes a growing unease among the electorate when they witness attempts to deconstruct long-held scientific or historical foundations. From his perspective, when political platforms focus on reinventing complex concepts like gender or social identity in ways that feel abrupt or alien, it fosters alienation rather than unity. He specifically targets the explosive debates surrounding youth gender transitions, covering everything from parental rights to medical ethics, which have become radioactive flashpoints. For Maher, these aren't just online arguments. They have infiltrated the mainstream and are defining the party's public image. His ultimate warning is clear. Doubling down on these polarizing cultural battles risks driving away moderate voters who might otherwise support democratic economics, effectively draining the party's power at the polls.
Homelessness is a lifestyle. Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. Is in women's prisons, welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it. If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath, insist there be no debate about any of it.
Maher concludes with a direct, gloves-off challenge. Democrats must overhaul their approach, shed the rigid ideological blinders, and welcome genuine, unfiltered debate back into the fold. He argues that true political strength isn't found in enforced consensus, but in allowing competing ideas to be stress-tested and defended in the open. Currently, he claims the party projects an image of intolerance toward dissent, signaling that only approved opinions are allowed, while everyone else is silenced or branded with a label. This creates a sterile echo chamber that might excite the hardcore base but acts as a repellent for independents and undecided voters. Maher's solution is to rebuild credibility by confronting critics head-on rather than avoiding them. For him, the path forward isn't paved with safe silence. It requires transparency, honest friction, and the courage to navigate difficult conversations with total clarity.
That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say math is racist, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say.
The rhetoric coming from the left has reached such a fever pitch that even lifelong liberals like Maher feel compelled to blow the whistle. His primary concern is the growing atmosphere where certain viewpoints are no longer open for scrutiny. They are simply mandates you must accept without question. He argues that when disagreement is categorized as a moral deficiency rather than a starting point for dialogue, it strangles the very exchange that democracy depends on. Critics warn this has birthed a culture of enforced conformity, where individuals stay silent for fear of social excommunication or public shaming instead of engaging in productive debate. Maher's frustration is palpable. Lasting political power comes from the art of persuasion, not the application of social pressure. When the debate is killed and only one narrative survives, voters feel alienated rather than heard, and that resentment usually explodes on election day.
Democrats today have gone out of their way to post messages on social media about the current Trump administration and what's happening to American lives. The problem is they're all literally saying the same damn thing. Don't believe me? Check it out.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse. Not better. The prices of grocery, gas,
Now you see why Stephen A. Smith was in the polls as a presidential candidate? You see what I'm talking about? You see that idiocy right there? You talk about something, people being tone deaf.
Stephen A. Smith has also identified a major strategic blunder: the Democrats' obsession with painting every single thing Donald Trump does in the most apocalyptic light possible. He warns that this constant state of hyper-outrage is losing its effectiveness, as voters begin to see it as a predictable script rather than a convincing argument. Smith points out the irony that the DNC was already demonizing Trump long before he ever stepped foot in the Oval Office, and it didn't prevent his victory. He finds it baffling that, despite that failure, many leaders are doubling down on the exact same strategy. Instead of offering a magnetic, forward-thinking alternative, the focus remains trapped in a loop of reacting to Trump's every move. Smith's critique is sharp. People aren't looking for a critic-in-chief. They want vision, tangible solutions, and a reason to hope for something beyond perpetual political warfare.
Why the hell would 22 Democratic senators be literally echoing the same thing and think that would resonate with the American people? All it shows is that the same fabric of our democracy is unchanging in the eyes of some of these officials, and as a result, the constituency they represent, which is why Donald Trump is in office. What, do I have to come up to Capitol Hill and give you lessons? Seriously, you don't get it? Oh, you did. Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer. Let's all get together. Let's put this in a prompter, and all together, albeit in separate rooms, we'll grab a microphone and say the same damn thing.
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back either, calling out what he perceives as blatant hypocrisy at the top of the DNC. In his view, too much of the party's communication feels like a staged production, choreographed moments designed for viral headlines rather than substantive progress. He highlights the fact that while Americans are struggling with the weight of inflation, job instability, and a crushing cost of living, party leaders often seem more interested in symbolic virtue signaling than fixing the economy. Smith argues that the public isn't easily fooled. They can distinguish between a leader who is genuinely in the trenches and one who is just managing an image. That disconnect, he claims, breeds a deep cynicism that erodes trust. His advice is straightforward. End the political theater, reconnect with the public on the issues that actually keep them up at night, and prove your authenticity through results, not PR.
Chuck Schumer and the typical politicians, oh, inflation is high. Oh, look at them pointing the fingers at the migrants. Oh, look at them blaming immigration. They don't care about you. Oh, by the way, look, they don't care about you. Well, why would you bother people from the LGBTQ community? Why would you bother folks with transgender and all this? Why would you do that? That is what the Democrats say. That's what most politicians would say. Here's Trump. They're pieces. They don't give about you. It's rigged. They've hoodwinked you all the time. They think you're a freaking joke. They give you the middle finger anytime they want to. Here's Trump. Fuck them. They ain't worth shit.
Stephen A. Smith highlights a stark contrast between Donald Trump's political persona and the DNC's current leadership style. He notes that Trump's primary weapon is his unfiltered bluntness. He identifies a problem, uses plain language, and promises immediate results, traits that resonate with voters tired of bureaucratic fluff. Regardless of whether one agrees with his platform, Smith argues that Trump projects a sense of decisive intent that makes his supporters feel he is being 100% honest. Conversely, he slams the DNC for messaging that feels overly polished, calculated, and focus grouped to death, which makes voters doubt if they're getting the full truth. For Smith, authenticity is the ultimate political currency. People gravitate toward leaders who appear straightforward and human, while anything that feels managed or vague eventually destroys credibility and trust.
And do you know what his followers say? Yeah, that's how we want you talking to those politicians who've been stealing our money all of these years. It's not what he says. It's how he says it. He does it with vitriol and venom to show a disrespect to politicians who the public have no respect for because they feel they've been hoodwinked by those same politicians. He's using it to separate himself from the cesspool that is Capitol Hill. And how does Capitol Hill respond? By showing them they're still Capitol Hill.
Stephen S. Smith observes that Bill Maher understands a reality most politicians are blind to. Americans are completely exhausted by the professional political class. Maher taps into that anger by calling out institutions and leaders using raw, unapologetic language that skips the usual pleasantries. This directness resonates with an audience that feels their daily struggles are usually ignored or softened by standard political speak. Smith believes this gives Maher a distinct advantage, casting him as a fearless challenger of authority who isn't afraid to offend either side. In contrast, he views the DNC as being too cautious and restrained, which often comes across as a lack of conviction rather than careful planning. Voters, Smith insists, are hungry for boldness and transparency in an era of massive distrust. The lesson is simple. Raw authenticity and fearless engagement are the only ways to win back a disillusioned public.
Did you see me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or the 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the Black community, the Hispanic community, and the young voters?
When you combine the warnings from Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith, the outlook for the DNC is grim. Despite coming from different backgrounds, they are both screaming the same message. The party is losing its connection to reality. Voters are demanding transparency, decisiveness, and real-world results. not ideological purity tests, staged optics, or nonstop outrage. Meanwhile, Trump's appeal stems from his ability to project strength and authenticity. Whether you support him or not, the takeaway is urgent. If Democrats continue to ignore dissent, run away from open debate, and rely on performative politics, they will continue to lose the very people they claim to represent. The public knows the difference between a calculated move and a core conviction. For Maher and Smith, the remedy is clear. Listen to the people, engage without fear, and restore trust before the voters walk away for good. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If this breakdown hit home, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.